We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The glass of bourbon in my hand trembled as if it understood the storm inside me. It was a Thursday evening, one of those long days where I'd worked overtime at the construction site, pushing myself so hard that my body begged for rest. When I walked into the living room, my wife, Melissa Carter, sat sprawled across the couch with a sly smile. Her phone screen lit up her face, and her laugh echoed like a knife dragging across my chest. I asked, "What's so funny?" She looked at me, her green eyes glimmering with an arrogance I hadn't seen before. Then she tossed her phone on the coffee table and said the words that would rip apart everything I thought I knew about marriage. "David," she began, her tone light, "I've been thinking. Now my lover will live with us. One night with him, the next with you. Isn't it a great idea?" Her words cracked through me like thunder. I blinked, certain I had misheard her. "What did you just say?" Melissa leaned back, folding her arms. "You heard me. It's not cheating if it's agreed on. His name's Caleb, and he makes me feel alive. Why should I give that up? We can share. You get your nights, he gets his." The room spun. My hands clenched into fists, not from violence, but from the sheer restraint it took not to explode. I thought about the mornings I woke up early just to brew her coffee, the nights I massaged her tired shoulders after her shifts at the dental clinic, the sacrifices I made when money was tight so she could finish school. Every piece of love I had poured in her suddenly felt like a cruel joke. I stared at her, my voice low. "You're serious about this?" "Dead serious," she smirked. "Don't act shocked, David. You've been too busy with work to notice what I needed. Caleb gives me what you don't. I want both of you. That's my idea." She thought she had all the power, like she was the queen in some twisted game. But while she gloated, my mind shifted gears. I felt something break inside me, but in its place, something colder, sharper, and far more dangerous was born. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. Instead, I swallowed the fire and said softly, "That's an interesting idea, Melissa, but I think I have one too. A better one." Her eyebrows arched, intrigued, completely unaware that the man sitting across from her was no longer the naive husband she thought she controlled. What she didn't know was that while she was weaving her lies with Caleb, I'd already started noticing the cracks, the secretive texts, the late-night errands, the perfume on her clothes that wasn't hers. I had been playing along, biding my time, gathering every thread of betrayal she thought she hid so well. And now, with her arrogance laid bare, I knew exactly how I'd use it. I didn't plan on sharing. I planned on destroying. The night after Melissa dropped her bombshell, sleep was impossible. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan spinning above me, its rhythmic creaks almost mocking me. Every moment of our marriage replayed in my mind like a cruel highlight reel. The vows we exchanged under the oak tree in her parents' backyard, the first apartment we scraped together enough to rent, the way she used to cry in my arms when life felt too heavy. All of it now tainted by one name, Caleb. I turned my head and saw her, peacefully asleep beside me, as if nothing had happened. My chest tightened with a mixture of rage and sorrow. She had confessed her betrayal openly and expected me to accept it like some loyal dog. But I wasn't that man anymore. At work the next day, my body was present, but my mind spun with questions. Between hammering nails and pouring concrete, I pieced together the patterns of her deceit. I remembered the nights she claimed she was working late at the clinic, the weekend she visited her cousin out of town, the sudden new clothes, the expensive perfume that I hadn't bought. Every lie now made perfect, painful sense. By lunchtime, I made a call to an old friend, Jake Wallace, who happened to work in private security. "Jake," I said, lowering my voice, "I need a favor. Discreet. I need someone followed. Pictures, texts, whatever you can find." Jake didn't ask questions. He never did. By the end of that week, he handed me a folder thick enough to choke on. Inside were photos of Melissa and Caleb, kissing in parking lots, holding hands at restaurants, checking into a hotel together. My wife wasn't just having an affair. She was parading it like a trophy. One picture froze me cold. Melissa, smiling in a red dress I'd bought for her birthday, standing outside the hotel with Caleb's arm wrapped around her waist. The dress I thought made her feel special. She had worn for him. My stomach turned. That night, I didn't confront her. Instead, I acted normal, masking my emotions behind casual conversation. I asked her how her day was. She lied effortlessly, claiming she had worked late again. I nodded, kissed her forehead, and told her to get some rest. Inside, my heart was steel, but I wasn't just planning to expose her. I wanted her to feel the weight of every betrayal she had thrown my way. Over the following days, I studied her routines. Melissa always showered in the morning before heading to work. She always left her phone in the kitchen while she showered, trusting I'd never snoop. But now I did. I copied down every number, every message thread. There were pages of flirtatious texts with Caleb, mocking me behind my back. "He's so clueless," one read. "I can't wait until we're all under one roof," Melissa had typed. Caleb replied, "He'll come around, or he won't matter anymore." That line stung the most. I won't matter anymore. After years of building her dreams, after years of carrying the weight of bills and sacrifices, I was nothing more than a placeholder. Still, I stayed quiet. My revenge needed patience, precision. I started small. I pulled our joint financial records. Melissa had been funneling money into a separate account. Money I earned through long hours under the sun, money she thought I'd never notice. She used it for dinners with Caleb, little getaways, even gifts. My jaw tightened as I saw the withdrawals, each one proof that my trust had been stolen, dollar by dollar. So, I opened a new account in my own name. Quietly, I began transferring funds, leaving just enough in the joint account so she wouldn't notice. Meanwhile, I built my image at work. I took on extra projects, stayed late, and earned the trust of my boss, who had been considering me for a promotion. If Melissa thought Caleb could offer her a better life, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. One evening, while Melissa was getting ready for one of her late nights, I stood in the doorway watching her curl her hair. "You look nice," I said casually. She glanced at me in the mirror, smirking. "Thanks. Big client dinner." "Of course," I replied smoothly, hiding the folder I had tucked under the bed. When she left, I pulled out the evidence again. Each photo, each text, each bank statement was a weapon in my arsenal, and I was going to use them, not just to expose her, but to dismantle the entire illusion she had built with Caleb. The turning point came 2 weeks later. Melissa came home glowing, tossing her heels into the corner. "Caleb thinks we should move forward soon," she said, her voice dripping with excitement. "Maybe by next month." I raised an eyebrow. "Move forward how?" Her smile widened. "He wants to move in. Imagine it, David. All three of us here. You'll get used to it." Her audacity was breathtaking. She thought she owned me, that I'd been to her twisted fantasy. But inside, I smiled too, because the more she believed she controlled the board, the sweeter it would be when I flipped it upside down. I leaned in, kissed her cheek, and whispered, "Sound like a plan?" What she didn't know was that my plan was already in motion. And when it unfolded, Melissa and her so-called lover would be left with nothing but ashes. The day Melissa thought she had won was the day I truly began. She strutted into the kitchen one Saturday morning, humming as she poured herself coffee. She wore one of my shirts, oversized on her frame, as though parading the illusion of a devoted wife. She kissed my cheek lightly, like nothing was wrong, and sat across from me with that same sly smile. "You know, David," she said, stirring sugar in her mug, "you're taking this a lot better than I expected. Caleb was worried you'd blow up." I swallowed my smirk. "I told you, Melissa, I'm open-minded. If this is what you want, then maybe it can work." Her green eyes brightened, misinterpreting my calmness for surrender. She reached across the table, resting her hand on mine. "This will make everything perfect. You'll see." But I did see, just not what she imagined. That afternoon, I called Jake again. "It's time," I told him. He didn't need an explanation. Jake had already given me enough proof to tear apart her little fantasy. But now, I wanted more. I wanted Caleb's background, his weaknesses, his debts, his skeletons. If I was going to dismantle this arrangement, I'd do it piece by piece until they had nothing left. Within days, Jake came through. Caleb wasn't some flawless knight in shining armor. He was a debt-ridden man who had bounced between jobs and carried a credit score so low it made the ground look high. Worse, he had a history, unpaid loans, a failed engagement, and even a restraining order from an ex who accused him of manipulation. Perfect ammunition. At home, Melissa's routine grew bolder. She spent more nights working late. She wore lingerie I'd never seen before under her clothes. And she no longer bothered to hide the scent of his cologne. Every time she left, I stayed behind, quietly laying the groundwork for the storm to come. First, the finances. By now, most of our savings sat securely in my private account. The joint account grew thinner by the week, but Melissa never noticed, too distracted with her grand plans with Caleb. Second, the house. Melissa believed we owned it together, but she never bothered to read the fine print when we signed. I had purchased it under my name alone, back when her credit was weak, and I carried the weight. She thought she could invite Caleb into our home, but legally, it was my home. Finally, the reputation. Melissa loved appearances, family dinners, neighborhood barbecues, social media posts where she showcased her perfect life. So I began leaking small hints, subtle truths, in the right places. Not accusations, but questions. I let her family and friends start noticing the cracks. I made sure her coworkers overheard me on fake phone calls about Melissa's new arrangement. Her perfect image started to blur before her own eyes, though she didn't realize I was behind it. The climax came one Friday evening when she finally decided to introduce Caleb into our home. She texted me earlier that day, "Be ready. He's coming over tonight. Let's talk about how this will work." I played along, replying, looking forward to it. That night, Caleb walked through my front door as if he belonged there. He was taller than me, wearing a cheap leather jacket, his handshake limp but arrogant. Melissa hovered behind him, her face glowing with pride. "David," she announced, "this is Caleb, the man who completes me." I offered a smile, extending my hand. "Welcome, Caleb. Make yourself at home." He smirked. "Thanks, man. I appreciate your understanding." Melissa clapped her hands together like this was some victory. She poured wine, seating Caleb at the table across from me. They whispered to each other, their laughter echoing through my house like nails on glass. But I stayed calm, because in my pocket was the folder Jake had given me, every dirty detail of Caleb's life. And on the kitchen counter, my phone recorded every arrogant word they spoke. As the night dragged on, Melissa grew bolder, her hand resting on Caleb's arm, her voice dripping with affection. Finally, she leaned back, looking at me with satisfaction. "See, David, this is what I meant. We can all live together. No secrets, no lies. Isn't it better this way?" I leaned forward, my tone measured. "Melissa, it's definitely something. But before we celebrate, I think it's only fair that Caleb tells us all the truth. Don't you agree?" Her smile faltered. Caleb's brow furrowed. "What truth?" I pulled the folder from my jacket, sliding it across the table. "The one about your debts. Your ex-fiancé. The restraining order. All the things you forgot to mention while you were whispering sweet promises to my wife." Melissa's face drained of color. She fumbled for the papers, flipping through the evidence. Caleb stiffened, his cocky grin fading into something uglier. "This is crap," he snapped. "Is it?" I pressed. "Because I have the documents, the court filings, even the police report. Melissa, this is the man you wanted to bring into our home. This is the man you thought could build a life with us." Her lips trembled, caught between denial and fear. For the first time, her confidence cracked. But I wasn't finished. "Melissa," I said coldly, "you thought you could humiliate me, replace me in my own marriage. But what you didn't realize is that I've been preparing for this. You see this house? It's mine. The money? Already gone from our joint accounts. And your reputation." I tapped my phone. "Let's just say, people are starting to wonder about your lifestyle choices." Her eyes widened, tears brimming. "David, wait." "No," I cut in sharply. "You had your chance to be a wife. You chose to be a liar. Now, you and Caleb can figure out how to live with nothing. Because after tonight, you're both out of my life." Melissa's hand shot out, reaching for me, but I stood, towering over them. Caleb cursed under his breath, realizing the trap he had walked into. And as I walked away, I knew the final blow was still to come. The night Melissa tried to sell me her twisted dream ended with silence. Caleb stormed out of my house, cursing under his breath, and Melissa sat frozen at the kitchen table, staring at the damning folder I'd left in front of her. Her wine glass trembled in her hand, as if she finally realized the foundation of her lies was crumbling beneath her. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. Instead, I leaned close enough for her to hear every word. "You thought you could control me, Melissa. But you forgot who I am. You forgot the sacrifices I made, the years I carried us when you were still figuring out who you wanted to be. And you thought Caleb was the answer? He's not even a fraction of the man you needed. Her lips quivered. David, I didn't mean for it to. Stop. My tone was flat, unshaken. You meant every word. You wanted me to accept sharing you, to accept being mocked in my own home. And you wanted him to sit at this table as if he belonged here. But I have another idea. A better one. I picked up the folder and walked upstairs, leaving her in stunned silence. I didn't sleep that night, but for once, it wasn't from heartbreak. It was from planning the final strike. The next morning, I put my plan into motion. Step 1. The finances. By the time Melissa woke up, I'd already met with my bank officer. All remaining funds were locked away in my private account, accessible only to me. Melissa's secret account, where she had stashed money for her dates with Caleb, had been emptied too. I closed it, transferring everything to cover debts I knew she didn't even realize existed yet. Step 2. The house. A few phone calls later, I had the locks changed. Legally, the property was mine alone, and Melissa couldn't touch it. By evening, the locksmith had finished his work, and I pocketed the new keys with a sense of finality. Step 3. The exposure. Melissa thrived on appearances. She loved being seen as the polished dental assistant with the picture-perfect marriage. But with Jake's evidence, I had all I needed to tear that image down without lifting a finger. That afternoon, I uploaded select pieces of proof, Melissa's text mocking me, photos of her and Caleb sneaking into hotels, and even screenshots of their plans, into a neat, anonymous package. I didn't plaster on the internet. No, that would have been too crude. Instead, I sent it directly to the people who mattered most to her. Her parents, her siblings, her boss at the clinic, and the small circle of friends she bragged to about her perfect marriage. By the time Melissa got home, her phone was blowing up with calls and messages. She stormed into the house, eyes blazing. David, what did you do? I sat calmly at the kitchen table, sipping coffee. I told the truth. She slammed her phone down, tears streaking her face. My mom won't even speak to me. My boss said I need to take a leave of absence. David, this will ruin me. I looked at her steadily. No, Melissa. You ruined yourself the moment you decided your arrogance was more important than loyalty. I just held up the mirror. She collapsed into a chair, her confidence gone, her world unraveling before her. For the first time, she looked small, no longer the woman who strutted around with Caleb like she was untouchable. But my revenge wasn't finished yet. 2 nights later, Caleb tried to call me. He left a voicemail, his voice laced with panic. Man, I don't know what you did, but Melissa's freaking out. Her family hates her. She's broke. I'm done with this. Don't drag me into it anymore. Perfect. Caleb was bailing, just as I predicted. The man she thought was her future couldn't handle the fallout. When Melissa confronted me about it, her voice cracked. He left me, David. He said it's too much. Please. I made a mistake. I stared at her, cold as stone. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is saying something you don't mean in anger. What you did was a choice. Repeated. Planned. Celebrated. And now you live with it. Her tears fell freely now. David, please. Don't throw away what we had. I leaned closer, my voice barely above a whisper. Melissa, what we had was buried the night you invited another man into our lives. You didn't just betray me. You mocked me, made me a punchline in your story. So now, you'll tell your story without me. I stood, walked to the door, and handed her a suitcase I had packed with her belongings. This is your new beginning. Not with Caleb. Not with me. Just you. Alone. Her sobs echoed in the doorway as I shut it behind her, the click of the lock sealing the final chapter. Weeks passed. My life became quieter, but it was a peaceful quiet. I focused on work, and the promotion I had been chasing finally came through. Friends who once only saw me as Melissa's husband now looked at me with respect, admiring how I carried myself through the storm. Melissa, on the other hand, became a whisper in town. Her family distanced themselves, her job slipped away, and the image she cared so much about lay shattered. The last I heard, she was renting a small apartment on the outskirts of the city, working odd jobs just to make ends meet. Caleb was long gone, leaving her with nothing but regret. One night, I received a text from her. David, I'm sorry. I'd give anything to undo what I did. I didn't reply, not out of hatred, but because I finally understood something. True revenge isn't about shouting or fighting. It's about walking away stronger, while they're left to choke on the ruins of the life they destroyed themselves. And that was my victory. Melissa had tried to write me out of her story. Instead, I ended hers.